Hello, welcome back. Today I'm talking to you guys about practical ways to sound more natural when you're speaking. So I actually did a live on Instagram just yesterday talking about this. The live is saved on my profile, so if you go there now, you're gonna find it. It's called How to Sound More Natural, so it's very easy to find. And I have given you some tips on there, but here I would like to talk about some other things that I did not mention in the live yesterday, because this topic is just so important. I think there's a lot to be said about how we can sound more natural. So here we are today. Basically, first things first, I want you to go and get a notebook and a pen, okay? So really, a notebook and a pen, okay? Go get your notebook and your pen and make some notes about what I'm going to teach you today. The first thing I want to mention about sounding natural, bear in mind, I love this expression, bear in mind means keep in mind, okay? Remember, don't forget that in the live I did yesterday, there were other things I have already mentioned. So you might be thinking about stuff that you felt would be important to sound more natural that I'm not saying here, but that's because I've already said it there, maybe. So do have a look. Anyway, the first thing I want to say to you today is emphasis. This word is so important if you want to sound more natural. You will find the more you know English that there are words in a sentence that are actually doing nothing. So if you were to translate the sentence, that particular word would not have a translation. It's not there to really serve a purpose in terms of the meaning for the word. It's there, however, to serve a purpose for feeling, for the hidden message, for what's kind of underneath what you're saying. And a lot of the time, only and simply to make whatever you're saying to that lovely person you're talking to stronger and more powerful and more meaningful in a way. So let me give you an example. This past week, I was actually feeling a bit under the weather. This is an expression that means a bit ill, a bit sick, not well, unwell, right? So I was feeling under the weather, has nothing to do with weather, okay? So don't translate it. It's an idiom, it's an expression. You don't want to translate it, you just want to embrace it and love it and use it. So I was feeling under the weather. I'm still kind of recovering. I feel good, but you know when you kind of still have a bit of a blocked nose and you're feeling a bit weird, I'm still kind of there, but I'm sure I'm going to be okay in a couple of days. So I was feeling under the weather. I posted something about that in my stories saying I'm feeling under the weather, and I spoke about the expression, fine. And then the next day I woke up feeling better, like a lot better. So then I posted a photo of myself and I wrote this, I've got it right here. Look who's all better today. And as I was writing this, that was the moment I had the idea for the live. I even wrote it here, hold on, writing this just gave me a great idea for this week's live. I do weekly lives on Instagram where I talk about specific things that are very helpful to you, learner. So as I typed it, look who's all better today, I realized that when you say something like, I'm all better, it's one of those words in that particular sentence that you're not really going to translate. The word itself is not serving a purpose in terms of meaning, but it's serving a purpose in terms of feeling, emphasis. I'm just literally what I'm saying is, hi, I am in fact feeling better today. So you just say, I'm all better, thank you. This makes you sound more natural because remember that sounding natural has a direct connection to the way native speakers of that particular language, English in this case, use the language, because they are the ones who know how to navigate everything. They are the ones who know exactly what sounds normal and what sounds abnormal, what sounds okay and what sounds strange. They know that. So when we're learning from them, listening to a lot of English, we start to slowly, okay? This is a slow process, which is why when you're having this overwhelming sense of urgency and emergency, you tend to get caught up in that feeling and not allow your learning to develop slowly as it should. So just to circle back, just to get back to my point, love this expression as well, just to circle back, when you're learning through lots and lots of listening, slowly, because you understand that this learning process takes time, and even though your overwhelming sense of urgency and emergency can feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and things are not working out in the way you expected them to, they are. It's just that you need to understand that for learning to really take place, to take place is the same as to happen, to occur. For learning to take place, there's a combination of factors that need to be kind of put together and be happening at the same time so that you can feel that you are in fact learning and improving. So lots and lots of listening is key, okay? Because remember, when we listen, we start to feel the language. This is real. I'm not just saying this to you. This is very real. Most people don't get to the stage where they feel something is right just because. I don't really know how to explain the grammar behind this particular tense, but I know it's right. Most people don't get to this stage because they don't believe this is possible. So they stop learning before they get to this stage, as well as not having the right strategy for learning, which is number one, lots and lots of listening combined with lots and lots of reading, combined with your speaking and your writing. So the four skills come together in a real type of practice that English is not distant, that English is so close to you that you feel that you are in it, that you can see yourself in the language. So that's the right type of strategy, which is precisely what we do on 100 Days. Another example of a word that is there with a meaning, so you would translate that word, but non-native speakers would probably not use the word in that way because it doesn't make sense in their language. So they think, I don't need the word there. I can just drop it and it will be fine. It will be fine. But in terms of sounding more natural, you really want to be bringing that word into your speaking, is the word though, which is a word you guys know, but you're scared to use. Yeah, I know. Yeah? You're scared to use the word, you don't really understand how to. And the easiest, this is something I always say to my students, that the easiest way to use the word though is to start using it in the simplest way possible, which is somebody offers you something and you want to say no and you want to be polite, you just say, oh, I'm fine, thanks though. So using though after you say thank you, thanks though, when you translate that, it's going to be really weird for you. But in English, it works beautifully. So that's just a simple way to kind of insert the word into your speaking, to bring it into your speaking, to make it more accessible to you. And then slowly, as you start using it, you're going to start hearing it more, and then you'll be able to pick up on the details regarding how other people are using this word. So that's an example of a word that makes your speaking a lot more natural. Another example with the word though would be you're talking to someone and they make a comment. So they say, well, the weather is all right today, but it's cloudy. So for you, let's say that you are from Brazil like me, so you're used to nicer weather, not so cloudy, blue sky, nice heat. And the weather is dry in London where you are, where you're having this conversation. but it's cloudy, it's grey, it's not so nice. So the person says, yeah, well, the weather's all right today. You could say, is it though? Is it though? It's like you can see the weather. So if you say, is it? It doesn't sound as natural because you're there and you can see the weather, okay? So if you were over the phone, you could not see the weather, you'll say, is it? That's fine. But you are in London. You can see that the weather is not so good. It's cloudy and grey and weird. So then you would say, is it though? Like, are you sure? Really? Because it doesn't look like it's as nice as you're making it out to be, as you're saying it is. Another example, you're talking to someone who keeps complaining about their relationship. So they keep telling you horrible things about their partner, their husband or wife or boyfriend, girlfriend or whatever. They keep talking about these things every time you see each other. And then you see each other for a drink or a coffee. And, they're like, yeah, but really, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm okay. And you can just ask, are you though? Are you though? Because it's contradictory to everything you have been telling me. Do you see what I mean? Using though is a lovely way to get your speaking to sound a bit more natural. And the last thing I want to say today, which makes a massive difference in your speaking, is you don't need to say I, you, every time you're talking. So I know that if you have been learning in a more traditional way, you go to an English school and the teachers there teach lots of grammar, and you have a textbook where you do grammar exercises, you're probably thinking I'm talking crazy now because you have learned that you always need to say I or you in the sentence. So you have learned that you must say I can't believe it. You need to say I, and then you say can't believe it. And that's correct. That's true. But when it comes to everyday spoken English, when you're speaking, you will hear lots of native speakers just saying, can't believe it. So dropping the I, not necessarily having to say the I all the time. And this can make your speaking more natural. Simple example, someone shows you their new phone. They're showing you their new phone, you go, ooh, love it. You don't need to say, I love it. You can just say, love it. Or they're talking to you about something that you really don't like. They're talking to you about the fact that they were queuing somewhere. So usually instead of saying line, they say queue. So you're queuing, it works as a verb as well. You're queuing and someone just cuts the queue in front of you and you were so angry. You did not like that at all. And you're telling me that. You're telling me that story. Maybe I'll react by saying, hate that. I don't need to say, I hate that. I can just go, hate that. And that makes it more natural. So how do we know, this is always the big question, isn't it? How do we know when we can and cannot drop the I or you? Usually it's very common with I and you. How do we know? We know because we have done so much listening that it just feels like it's okay. So when it comes to you, so dropping the you, it happens a lot when you're asking questions. I know that we're supposed to say, do you want to sit down? I know that's the proper way, but you will hear, and it's absolutely fine in spoken English in a casual situation to say, want to sit down? Want to sit down, not saying do you, just want to sit down. What I mean to say is removing some little parts of your sentence or question can make you sound more natural, especially when you're dropping do or does, I and you specially. That's very common that way. Now that I've told you this, go and watch the live on Instagram. I'm sure it's going to help you a lot. And start putting those things into practice. Everything I'm telling you is meant to be put into practice. You're not meant to just hear it and be like, yay, that's so useful, and then forget about it. You need to be thinking about those things. You need to be trying hard to put those into practice because that's what's going to make all the difference, okay? I hope you guys have enjoyed spending time with me today. I definitely did. See you all next time.